Have you ever wondered why some people rise from nothing, from poverty, pain, or even failure, and still go on to live lives full of purpose, peace, and power, while others, despite having everything, continue to struggle with fear, frustration, and emptiness? The answer, according to James Allen, lies in one simple but timeless truth: your outer world is a mirror of your inner world. This is the foundation of his legendary book, From Poverty to Power. A book that teaches us not just how to achieve success, but how to transform the mind, the very root from which all success and failure grow. Written in 1901, this book is over a century old, but its wisdom feels more relevant today than ever. Because the struggle of modern life, stress, comparison, insecurity, and endless chasing all come down to one battle: the battle within our own mind. James Allen believed that every human being holds within them the power to rise above any circumstance. Whether you're stuck in self-doubt, financial struggle, or emotional pain, you already have everything you need to turn it all around. You just have to master one thing: your thoughts. He writes, a man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. That means your life is not controlled by luck, fate, or other people. It's controlled by what you continuously think, feel, and believe. This book is divided into two powerful parts: The Path of Prosperity, where Allen teaches how to rise from struggle to success by mastering thought, and The Way of Peace, where he reveals how inner calm leads to spiritual strength and true freedom. Together, these two parts form a complete roadmap, a journey from confusion to clarity, from poverty to power, and finally, from restlessness to peace. So in this video, we'll explore this life-changing masterpiece chapter by chapter, lesson by lesson, and by the end, you'll understand exactly how to master your thoughts, align with truth, and awaken the hidden power within you. Welcome to Page Wise, where we bring you the world's most powerful and transformative ideas, one page at a time. If you're ready to elevate your thinking, unlock inner peace, and rise to your highest potential, then stay till the end, because this journey could truly change your life. Let's begin with Book 1, The Path of Prosperity. Chapter 1, The Lesson of Evil, Transforming Darkness into Wisdom. Have you ever wondered why life seems to bring pain even when you try to do everything right? Why do good people face struggles, heartbreak, and loss, while others seem untouched by hardship? Most people spend their lives asking that question. They blame circumstances, fate, or other people for their suffering. But in From Poverty to Power, James Allen invites us to look deeper, to turn the mirror inward, because the source of both our pain and our power lies not in the world outside, but in the thoughts we hold within. He begins with a profound statement: all that a man experiences is the result of his own thoughts. That one line changes everything. It means that the struggles we face aren't punishments, but reflections of our inner world. The poverty, the conflict, the disappointments, they're not signs that life is unfair, but that our thinking has gone astray. Every painful experience, Allen says, is an opportunity, a divine signal pointing us toward growth, wisdom, and self-mastery. Evil, in this context, doesn't mean demons or darkness outside us. Evil is ignorance. It is the unawakened mind that reacts with fear, envy, hatred, or greed. And like a shadow, it has no real power of its own. It exists only where the light of understanding has not yet reached. Imagine this: a man loses his job and immediately blames his boss, his luck, or the economy. His thoughts turn bitter, and he tells himself, "Life is unfair, I'll never succeed." That bitterness grows. He starts distrusting others, closes his heart, and eventually creates the very failure he feared. Now imagine another man who faces the same situation, but instead says, "Maybe this is life's way of teaching me something. Maybe there's a better path waiting for me." He stays calm, keeps faith, and looks for opportunity, and soon enough, he finds one. Same event. Different thought patterns. Completely different destiny. James Allen explains that the universe is governed by perfect law, a moral order that responds to the vibration of our thoughts. Every thought we plant in our mind is a seed, and life simply gives back what we sow. If we sow anger, we reap conflict. If we show patience and understanding, we reap peace. He writes, "The wrong thoughts of man have brought him all his sorrows. The right thoughts will lift him among the blessed and the happy." It's a simple but revolutionary truth. We are the architects of our joy and the creators of our misery. But Allen doesn't stop at self-blame. he moves toward self-realization. He teaches that recognizing the cause of suffering is not meant to shame us, but to empower us. Because once you understand that your pain comes from within, you also realize that the power to heal it lies within. Evil, therefore, becomes your greatest teacher. Your failures teach you humility. Your heartbreak teaches you compassion. Your frustration teaches you patience. Each painful moment has a message. Look within. There's something here you must learn. And that learning, that conscious awareness, is what transforms darkness into wisdom. Think about fire. It can burn you, or it can cook your food and warm your home. The difference lies in how you use it. The same is true of pain. When resisted, it destroys. When understood, it purifies. Alan believed that hate cannot be destroyed by hate, only by love. Fear cannot be fought with fear, only by understanding. And ignorance cannot be erased by violence, only by truth. So he asks us not to fight evil, but to outgrow it. To rise above the level of thought where it exists. That means no longer seeing the world as good or bad, but as a continuous process of learning in a school where every experience, even the painful ones, has something to teach. Once you grasp this, life changes. You stop blaming others. You stop seeing yourself as a victim. And slowly, peace begins to bloom inside you. You realize that even the most difficult people and painful events were necessary teachers on your journey to wisdom. And that's when the real power begins to awaken, the power to choose your thoughts consciously. To replace anger with compassion, doubt with faith, resentment with gratitude. Because ultimately, you are the master of your mind. And when you master your thoughts, you master your world. So the lesson of evil, as James Allen puts it, is not to fear darkness, but to understand it. Every shadow only exists to remind you that light is possible. When you stop running from your pain, you begin to see it as the path to strength. And that is the moment you rise from ignorance to wisdom, from weakness to power, from poverty to peace. That is the first lesson in From Poverty to Power. Evil is not your enemy. It is your teacher. And through understanding, you can turn every wound into wisdom, and every struggle into strength. Chapter 2, The World, a Reflex of Mental States. Look around you. Everywhere, in the faces you meet, in the work you do, in the life you live, you're seeing not the world as it truly is, but as your mind has painted it. James Allen opens this chapter with one of his most profound realizations. As the heart is, so is life. As the thought is, so is the world. Your outer world, he says, is simply a mirror, a perfect reflection of your inner world. If your mind is stormy, the world seems cruel. If your mind is peaceful, the same world feels kind and full of beauty. It's a truth so simple, yet so easily forgotten. Most of us believe the world shapes our moods, that people, events, and luck decide whether we're happy or not. But Allen turns this belief upside down. He reminds us that the cause and effect relationship actually flows the other way. The mind shapes the world, not the world the mind. Think of two people standing in the same rainstorm. One curses the weather, frustrated and impatient, while the other smiles, feeling the cool drops as nature's blessing. The rain hasn't changed, only their mental state has. That's the essence of this chapter. The outer world is neutral. It becomes heaven or hell depending on the consciousness that perceives it. Allen says, men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. In other words, your thoughts are seeds, your habits are their growing plants, and your circumstances are the garden they create. Let's imagine a young man named Ravi. Ravi often complains that nothing ever goes right for him. His boss doesn't appreciate him, his friends disappoint him, and he constantly feels unlucky. He tells himself, the world is unfair. Every day, he wakes up expecting frustration and finds it. He expects betrayal and sees it. Because his inner world has already drawn the blueprint for what he'll experience on the outside. Now picture another person, Mira. She faces her own challenges, financial struggles, misunderstandings at home, but she tells herself, there's something to learn from this. Every problem is a chance to grow. Over time, she becomes calmer, kinder, and more patient. And the world almost magically responds in kind. People begin to help her. Opportunities open up. Even her hardships start to feel purposeful. Nothing mystical is happening. It's simply the law of mental reflection in action. Life gives you back what you put into it. Your world is the echo of your own mind. Alan compares this law to a mirror. The universe is like a faithful glass, always reflecting what you hold before it. If you scowl into it, it scowls back. If you smile, it smiles in return. He writes, man is constantly weaving the web of his destiny, by the thoughts he encourages and the deeds he performs. Every emotion, every reaction, is a thread in that web, and over time, it forms the very pattern of your life. Alan explains that the poor, the sorrowful, and the fearful are not victims of fate but of unconscious thinking. He doesn't say this to blame them, but to awaken them to their power. Because once you recognize that your thoughts have built your current world, you also realize that new thoughts can build a new one. He writes, as a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation. That means your freedom begins the moment you take responsibility. When you stop saying, the world is against me, and start saying, my mind has more to learn, everything changes. Imagine standing before a still lake. When the water is calm, it perfectly reflects the sky, the clouds, the sunlight, the colors of dawn. But when you throw stones into it, the reflection shatters into distortion. Your mind works exactly like that. When it's restless with anger, jealousy, or fear, the reflection of life looks broken and chaotic. But when the mind is still clear with understanding, gratitude, and patience, the reflection becomes beautiful again. Alan says the greatest mistake people make is waiting for the world to change before they do. They say, once I get that job, I'll be happy. Once people treat me better, I'll be kind. But happiness and kindness don't follow outer change, they create it. Your inner state must come first. That's why transformation begins in silence. In those quiet moments when you observe your thoughts and realize how they're shaping your perception. The moment you choose a peaceful response instead of an angry one, you've already begun to reshape your world. It's not easy, because we've all been conditioned to think the problem is out there. We're told to fix the people, the system, the situation, but rarely are we told to look within. Alan's wisdom pierces through this illusion. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself and also fashions the tools with which he builds heaven. That's the choice before every human being. Will you use your thoughts to destroy or to build? To curse the darkness, or to light a candle? Because every thought is creative energy, it is either adding beauty to your life or taking it away. And once you realize that you no longer live like a victim of circumstance, you become the sculptor of your own destiny. Alan reminds us of that peace, prosperity, and joy are not prizes handed out by the universe. They are states of mind cultivated from within. The outer world merely reflects the inner landscape. So if you want to change your world, don't start with the world. Start with your thoughts. Clean the mirror of your mind, and the reflection will shine. The storms outside may still come, but you'll see them differently, not as punishment, but as passing clouds that make the sunlight even more beautiful when it returns. And in that calm, clear state, you'll finally understand what James Allen meant when he said, the outer condition of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state of thought. The world is not happening to you, it's happening through you. And the moment you master your inner world, the outer world will follow your command. Chapter 3: The Way Out of Undesirable Conditions. There comes a time in everyone's life when the walls seem to close in, when hardship, disappointment, or confusion feel like a storm that won't end. You look around and ask yourself, why is this happening to me? And somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispers, because something within needs to change. James Allen begins this chapter with that very truth. He writes, man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly, yet surely, shape his circumstances. This is the way out of undesirable conditions, not by fighting the world outside, but by transforming the world within. Allen reminds us that our external problems are not random punishments, but mirrors reflecting what we've been carrying in our hearts and minds. If your life feels heavy with conflict or lack, it's not because life is cruel. It's because the thoughts that dominate your inner world have created matching conditions in the outer one. He says, The outer condition of your life is always harmoniously related to your inner state of thought. This doesn't mean we deserve pain, it means we're powerful enough to end it. Think of a person lost in a dense forest. They keep walking in circles, angry at the trees for being in the way, blaming the darkness for their confusion. But the moment they really stop and climb a little higher to see where they are, they realize the exit was there all along. Alan says the same about our suffering. We keep trying to change people, jobs, or cities, but the real escape comes from elevating our mind. The higher you rise in consciousness, the clearer the path becomes. He writes, "The soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, and also that which it fears." Pause on that for a moment. It means your life is constantly responding to your strongest emotions, whether it's love or fear. If fear dominates, it shapes your choices, and those choices, repeated daily, build a life that feels trapped. But if love and faith guide your heart, they lead you upward, toward freedom and peace. Alan explains that negative conditions, poverty, sorrow, conflict aren't curses. They're signals, indicators that the mind has been tuned to a lower vibration. To escape them, you don't fight the condition, you rise above it. You cleanse the thoughts that attracted it. He gives a simple yet profound method. Start by accepting responsibility. The moment you stop saying, "I am a victim of circumstance," and start saying, "I have created this, and I can uncreate it," you reclaim your power. That acceptance might sting at first, but it's the first breath of freedom. Because blame keeps you chained to the past, but ownership gives you the key to the future. Let's imagine a man named Arjun. He has struggled for years with unstable work, constant arguments, and a feeling that the world is unfair. Then one day, after losing yet another job, he sits in silence. Instead of blaming luck or fate, he whispers to himself, "What if my thoughts have been shaping all this?" He begins to notice his patterns, how he constantly expects failure, how his conversations are filled with complaints, how his heart holds bitterness. So he decides to change, not the world, but himself. Every morning, he reads something uplifting. Every evening, he writes down one thing he's grateful for. He trains his mind to find lessons where he once saw loss. And slowly, as days turn into weeks, he notices something miraculous. The outer world begins to shift. Opportunities appear. People treat him differently. His energy feels lighter. Nothing magical, just mental law in motion. Alan calls this mental transmutation the art of turning weakness into strength, fear into courage, suffering into understanding. He says, when a man earnestly begins to correct the errors of his thought, he begins to attract to himself the good he has long been seeking. It's not about denial. It's about alignment. When your thoughts rise, your circumstances follow. Alan also warns that this transformation is not instant. It's a journey, one that requires patience and persistence. The old patterns will try to return, whispering doubt into your ear. But every time you choose faith instead of fear, peace instead of anger, you strengthen your spiritual muscles. And just like a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. He writes, "By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast." This is the spiritual law of evolution. Your thoughts are wings or weights. They either lift you higher or pull you down. And the choice, always, is yours. Alan explains that undesirable conditions will lose their grip the moment you stop feeding them energy. Worry, fear, anger, these are like fuel to the fire of suffering. Withdraw your attention, and the fire slowly dies. Replace those emotions with calm confidence, and you'll see the ashes give way to fertile soil, where new life can grow. He sums it up beautifully. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation. It will affect the material conditions of his life. So if your current life feels stuck, if it feels unfair, uninspired, or painful, know this. You are not trapped. You are being invited. Invited to rise higher in consciousness, to polish the lens through which you see the world. The way out is always the way in, into your own mind, into your own heart. where all true change begins. The world will reflect whatever you hold inside. So if you desire peace, become peaceful. If you seek abundance, become grateful. If you long for love, let love first live in you. This is the way out of undesirable conditions, and the way into freedom. Because, as James Allen reminds us, the soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, and nothing can come to it that it does not first invite. Chapter 4: The Silent Power of Thought, Controlling and Directing One's Forces. Think for a moment about your mind. Invisible, silent, yet ceaselessly active, weaving thoughts, creating moods, shaping dreams, and directing actions. James Allen calls it the most powerful force in existence. Silent, invisible, but capable of creating both paradise and prison in our lives. He writes, "A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts." Every circumstance in your life, success, failure, joy, or sorrow, originates in thought. Nothing exists outside the mind first. Thought is the builder, the architect, and the unseen hand behind every reality we experience. Imagine a sculptor shaping a block of marble. Each strike of the chisel, each tiny adjustment, gradually reveals the form hidden within. Our thoughts are like that chisel. Each idea, each repeated focus, carves our character, our destiny, and even the world we see. Allen emphasizes that while most people leave their thoughts uncontrolled, drifting into worry, fear, or self-doubt, the truly powerful understand that thought is energy to be directed. Like water flowing, it can erode mountains of doubt or irrigate fields of opportunity. Consider the story of a man named Vikram. He had talent, education, and ambition, yet he remained trapped in mediocrity. Every day, he worried about failure, feared criticism, and imagined obstacles everywhere. His energy dissipated in aimless rumination. Now imagine the same man, but conscious of his thoughts. He begins each morning by choosing focus. He visualizes success, nurtures courage, and directs his mind toward constructive action. Slowly, doors open. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable become stepping stones. His life transforms, not because the world changed, but because his mind did. Allen calls this the silent power of thought. Silent, because no one can see it. Powerful, because it shapes everything. Every habit, every action, every achievement is rooted in the repeated direction of thought. He warns, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. Which means, if your life feels chaotic or unfulfilling, the first step isn't to fight external circumstances. It's to examine your mind. Where is your energy flowing? What are your habitual thoughts? Fear, envy, resentment, these drain your force and attract situations that reflect the same vibration. Peace, purpose, gratitude, these amplify your force and magnetize success and happiness. Allen presents a remarkable truth. The mind is like a garden. Left unattended, weeds, doubt, worry, and anger overrun it. But with careful cultivation, deliberate thought, focus, and mental discipline, it blooms with flowers of courage, clarity, and creativity. Let's pause on that metaphor. Imagine planting seeds of negativity each day. Over time, they grow into tangled vines, choking potential, limiting vision, and attracting hardship. But the moment you plant seeds of purpose, kindness, and intention, life responds in kind. Opportunities blossom, relationships strengthen, and challenges become teachers rather than tormentors. Allen explains that thought is not only creative but magnetic. It draws to you what you consistently dwell upon. If your mind is filled with fear, failure, or envy, life responds with more of the same. If it is filled with vision, courage, and focused intent, life responds with abundance, opportunity, and growth. He writes, "Men do not attract what they want, but that which they are." This is profound. Wanting wealth or success isn't enough. If your inner state is chaotic, doubtful, or impatient, you will continue attracting struggle. Transformation begins with becoming disciplined, patient, courageous, and mindful, and then everything external aligns naturally. Allen offers a practical method. Consciously observe your thoughts. Choose which thoughts to nourish and which to discard. Replace negative mental chatter with constructive reflection. Make mental discipline a daily practice. The more consistently you do this, the more the silent power of thought shapes your life, often in ways invisible at first, but profoundly lasting. Think of a magnet. You don't see the magnetic field, yet its effect is undeniable. Thought works the same way. It is invisible energy, shaping your character, influencing your actions, and attracting circumstances in alignment with your inner state. In essence, Alan is telling us, mastery over life begins with mastery of thought. Stop being a passive spectator. Stop letting your mind drift aimlessly. Direct it. Focus on it. Guard it. Every great achievement, every act of courage, every instance of peace begins in the silent chambers of your mind. This is the power most overlook. It is silent, unseen, and yet unstoppable when harnessed. Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. Your habits, the sculptors of your character. And your character, the magnet drawing the world to you. So the lesson of this chapter is clear. Do not underestimate your thoughts. Do not leave them to chance. Cultivate them. Direct them. Guard them. For in the silent power of thought lies the ability to transform poverty into prosperity, weakness into strength, and confusion into clarity. Master your mind, and you master your world. Harness the silent power within, and you will shape the life you were always meant to live. Chapter 5: The Secret of Health, Success, and Power. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to move through life with effortless vitality, purpose, and strength while others constantly struggle with fatigue, frustration, or failure? James Allen reminds us that the difference is not luck, circumstance, or even talent. It lies in the harmony between body, mind, and spirit and the disciplined mastery of thought that creates it. He writes, "Health, success, and power are not the gifts of chance, but of law. Every outcome, physical, mental, or spiritual, follows a law. Just as sowing seeds produces predictable harvests, the seeds of thought, attitude, and action yield predictable results. Health and success are not random. They are cultivated through conscious alignment of thought and action. Imagine a tree in a storm. Its roots are strong, deeply grounded. Its branches sway, yet it does not break. The tree thrives because its foundation is stable and nourished." Allen says the same principle applies to life. When your thoughts are rooted in truth, calmness, and purpose, your life becomes resilient, adaptable, and productive. Allen begins by connecting health and thought. Every negative emotion, anger, fear, envy, creates tension in the mind, and that tension manifests physically as fatigue, weakness, or illness. Conversely, calm, positive, and disciplined thought produces vitality, strength, and energy. Think of two men. One carries resentment, doubts, and constant anxiety. His body aches, his mind is restless, and he feels weak in every challenge. The other cultivates clarity, patience, and focus. He confronts the same difficulties, yet his energy is unwavering, his mind sharp, and his resilience unshakable. The difference? The state of their minds. Allen emphasizes that power is calmness, not aggression or domination. True strength is silent. It does not shout. It does not coerce. It is the quiet confidence of one who knows his mind is disciplined, his thoughts aligned, and his actions intentional. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom, Allen writes. It is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Imagine a captain navigating a ship through a storm. Panic, fear, and chaos will only lead to disaster. But calm assessment, steady hands, and clear focus ensure safe passage. So it is with life. Calmness is the secret channel through which success and power flow. Allen then highlights the role of purpose. Success is not simply the accumulation of wealth or recognition. It is the alignment of thought, effort, and intention toward a meaningful goal. Without focus, energy dissipates like water in sand. With focused, persistent thought, even modest effort multiplies, producing results far beyond expectation. Imagine a man named Suresh. He dreams of creating a life of impact, yet his thoughts scatter. He worries about failure, compares himself to others, and hesitates at every step. His actions, like scattered arrows, rarely hit the target. But when he begins to align his mind, thoughts, and intentions, focusing daily on meaningful, constructive actions, results flow almost effortlessly. Life bends to the will of a disciplined mind. Alan also emphasizes that success, health, and power are inseparable from moral and mental purity. A person may appear to achieve success through manipulation, greed, or shortcuts, but such success is temporary and unstable. True power, the kind that lasts, uplifts, and sustains, comes only from right thinking, integrity, and self-mastery. He writes, "The man who has conquered himself, who has learned to control his desires and direct his thoughts, is the one who achieves health, prosperity, and peace." This mastery is not external, it is internal. It begins with thought discipline, noticing negative patterns, replacing them with constructive reflections, and nurturing habits that promote well-being and purpose. It flows into action, consistency, effort, and persistence aligned with ethical principles. And from there, life's conditions shift naturally. Health improves, success becomes sustainable, and personal power grows quietly, like a river carving its path. Imagine your mind as a furnace. Feed it with worry, anger, and fear, and it burns energy without producing warmth. Feed it with clarity, purpose, and positivity, and it radiates power, attracting opportunities, inspiring others, and shaping circumstances in harmony with your will. Alan closes this chapter with a reminder that the law of thought is universal. No external effort or magic can replace it. No external wealth or position can substitute for the internal mastery of mind and spirit. Health, success, and power are rewards for those who align their thinking with truth, act with discipline, and cultivate calmness, clarity, and constructive purpose. So, if you desire true power, begin within. Master your thoughts. Align your intentions. Act with purpose. Cultivate calm, patience, and self-discipline. Because health, success, and power are not accidents of life, they are the natural consequence of mastery over your inner world. Your mind is the secret. Your calm is the key. Your disciplined thought is the force that transforms struggle into strength, weakness into resilience, and ordinary life into extraordinary power. Chapter 6. The Secret of Abounding Happiness. What is happiness? Many chase it through wealth, recognition, or fleeting pleasures. Others search for it in relationships, achievements, or comfort. Yet, as James Allen reminds us, true and abounding happiness is never found outside, it is cultivated within. He writes, "Happiness is not something that can be pursued or obtained from external circumstances. It is a flowering of the inner life. Every smile, every moment of peace, every sense of contentment begins with the mind. Our thoughts, attitudes, and inner disposition shape our experience of life far more than events or conditions ever could." Allen begins by exploring a profound truth. The mind that is at peace, content, and grateful will naturally experience happiness. Conversely, the restless mind plagued by envy, fear, or dissatisfaction will find misery even in abundance. Imagine two people receiving a windfall. One brims with gratitude, using the opportunity to help others, create joy, and live purposefully. The other dwells on what is missing, compares, resents, and fears loss. Money in itself brings happiness to one and frustration to the other. The difference lies entirely in the mind. Allen emphasizes that happiness is cultivated through conscious effort, like tending a garden. Thoughts of kindness, gratitude, and forgiveness are seeds. If nurtured daily, they blossom into a life of joy. Neglect them, or cultivate anger, envy, or pride, and the garden becomes overrun with weeds, dissatisfaction, pain, and unrest. He writes, "A man is literally what he thinks. What he thinks he becomes. That which he loves, he attracts." Happiness is not merely a state to be experienced passively. It is an art, a deliberate practice of shaping the mind toward positivity, generosity, and gratitude. Think of a man named Anil. He lives a modest life, yet he constantly complains about lack, envies his neighbors, and dwells on misfortune. He is surrounded by resources, opportunities, and moments of joy, yet he feels empty. Now imagine Anil chooses a different path. Each morning, he reflects on what he is grateful for. He smiles at small acts of kindness. He forgives slights rather than dwelling on resentment. Slowly, his perception shifts. Opportunities appear brighter. People respond with warmth. Even difficulties feel manageable because he approaches them with a calm and positive mind. The difference isn't external, it is entirely internal. Alan calls this the law of mental reflection. Happiness is the natural reflection of inner purity, clarity, and constructive thought. If you cultivate joy, gratitude, and love inside, the world responds in kind. If you cultivate bitterness, resentment, or greed, the world mirrors it back. He writes, "Joy is the result of harmony, not of circumstances. Peace, contentment, and happiness are the reward of right thinking." It's a revolutionary idea. Happiness is not something to chase. It is something to grow from within. It cannot be bought, demanded, or borrowed. It must be nurtured through discipline, self-reflection, and conscious thought. Alan also emphasizes the importance of selfless thinking. When the mind focuses on service, love, and contribution, happiness flows naturally. Self-centered thought, by contrast, creates restlessness, dissatisfaction, and inner conflict. True joy is inseparable from generosity, empathy, and care for others. Imagine a woman named Mira. She has few possessions but dedicates her time to helping others, mentoring, volunteering, or simply offering a kind word. She experiences a deep sense of fulfillment, even amidst personal hardship. Meanwhile, someone with more wealth or comfort, but focused solely on themselves, may feel empty and anxious. Happiness is cultivated through outward giving that springs from inward abundance. Alan teaches that happiness is also rooted in the mastery of thought. The mind is the soil in which joy grows. Negative mental habits of worry, regret, envy must be uprooted. Positive habits of mindfulness, optimism, gratitude must be sown and tended consistently. Over time, these inner habits shape not only perception but circumstances, attracting experiences that reinforce joy. He writes, "The soul attracts that which it secretly harbors." If the mind is full of love, peace, and gratitude, happiness flows as naturally as sunlight fills the day. Happiness, Alan reminds us, is not fleeting. It is not dependent on applause, wealth, or fleeting pleasures. It is an enduring state, a reflection of inner harmony, moral integrity, and disciplined thought. It is a life lived in alignment with truth, gratitude, and selfless love. So, if you long for true and lasting happiness, start within. Observe your thoughts. Choose gratitude over complaint. Choose love over resentment. Serve others without expectation. And cultivate an inner life so rich, so disciplined, that the world cannot help but reflect it back to you. Alan's timeless message is clear: happiness is not given. It is grown. It is nurtured. It is the natural harvest of a disciplined mind, a pure heart, and a soul aligned with truth. Abounding happiness is not a matter of circumstance, it is a matter of choice. Choose your thoughts. Cultivate your inner life. Serve, love, and give. And joy deep, radiant, and abiding will follow naturally. Chapter 7. The Realization of Prosperity. What does prosperity truly mean? Is it merely the accumulation of wealth, possessions, or status? James Allen challenges this common notion. Prosperity, he teaches, is far more profound. It is the harmony of mind, body, and spirit, the natural manifestation of a disciplined, pure, and purpose-driven life. He writes, "Prosperity is not something to be pursued, it is something to be realized as the natural fruit of right living." Prosperity is not about chasing luck or material gain. It begins within in the quality of your thoughts, the integrity of your intentions, and the constructive use of your energy. Every thought of fear, doubt, or selfishness sows limitation. Every thought of faith, clarity, and purpose sows abundance. Imagine a man named Rohan. For years, he chased wealth, believing it would bring happiness. Yet despite his efforts, his life felt hollow. Deals failed, relationships suffered, and peace eluded him. Alan would say that Rohan's thoughts and habits were out of alignment. Prosperity had to be realized internally before it could manifest externally. Prosperity, Alan reminds us, is inseparable from virtue and self-mastery. It grows where integrity, patience, and wisdom flourish. The universe responds to the energy you radiate. A mind steeped in fear, envy, or greed will attract instability and limitation. A mind aligned with clarity, gratitude, and service attracts abundance in all its forms, not just money, but opportunity, health, love, and joy. Alan teaches that prosperity is the reflection of inner harmony. Every thought, habit, and choice contributes to the life we experience. When your inner world is orderly, purposeful, and constructive, your outer world mirrors that. The law is simple yet profound. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. Prosperity is not luck. It is the natural consequence of disciplined thought and purposeful action. It cannot be imposed from outside. It must be cultivated from within. Let's return to Rohan. Once he began to shift his inner life, replacing worry with confidence, doubt with faith, and selfish desires with constructive purpose, small changes began to appear. He became more patient, more focused, and more generous. He noticed opportunities he had missed before. People responded to his new energy. Doors opened, not because luck had changed, but because he had. Alan explains that the mind acts as a magnet. Whatever dominates your thoughts, whether fear, hope, or clarity, will draw corresponding circumstances into your life. Prosperity is attracted, not pursued. Prosperity follows right thinking like a shadow follows the body, Alan writes. The realization of prosperity also requires courage. It requires persistence in the face of obstacles and trust in the unseen law of cause and effect. Prosperity cannot coexist with inconsistency, despair, or distraction. It thrives where focus, discipline, and faith are unwavering. Think of a gardener tending a plot of land. If he plants seeds and then abandons the soil, weeds take over. If he nurtures, waters, and protects, the harvest comes in abundance. Alan reminds us that our mind is the soil, our thoughts are the seeds, and our habits are the cultivation. Prosperity is the inevitable harvest when this inner garden is well tended. Alan also emphasizes the joy of service. Prosperity is not hoarded, it is shared. The individual who uses wealth, energy, and influence to uplift others multiplies the abundance in his own life. Self-centered pursuit leads only to limitation, while selfless contribution opens the doors to enduring prosperity. Imagine Mira again, from the previous chapter. As she aligned her thoughts with love, gratitude, and purpose, prosperity followed in unexpected forms: opportunities, supportive relationships, and meaningful experiences. The outer world mirrored her inner abundance. James Allen writes, "The man who has learned to think rightly, who controls his thoughts and directs them to constructive ends, attracts not only wealth, but health, peace, and happiness." This is the ultimate lesson. Prosperity is not measured by what you have, but by who you are. The wealth of mind, heart, and character precedes and guarantees the wealth of circumstance. When you focus on purity, integrity, and purpose, abundance follows naturally. So, to realize prosperity, start within. Master your thoughts. Align your intentions with truth. Act with purpose and integrity. Cultivate inner peace, gratitude, and love. Prosperity, in its truest sense, is the reflection of a well-ordered, disciplined, and harmonious mind. It flows effortlessly when your inner world is aligned, and it enriches not just you, but everyone around you. Alan's timeless message is clear. Prosperity is not about chasing wealth. It is about realizing the natural abundance that arises when your mind, heart, and soul are in alignment. When you cultivate right thought, pure purpose, and constructive action, prosperity in every form becomes your natural inheritance. The realization of prosperity begins not with external effort, but with inner mastery. Think pure. Act right. Serve others. And abundance in every dimension of life will flow naturally. Book 2, Chapter 1, The Power of Meditation. In the journey from poverty to power, we've explored mastery over thought, abundance, and the cultivation of happiness. But James Allen reminds us there is a deeper dimension to life. Prosperity without inner peace is like a well-stocked ship with a broken rudder. It drifts uncertain, at the mercy of the storm. The key to this deeper dimension? Meditation. Alan writes, "Meditation is the secret of the strong, the secret of the wise, the secret of all who are truly great." Meditation is not merely sitting in stillness. It is the art of quieting the restless mind, observing the flow of thought, and connecting with the stillness that underlies all life. It is a bridge between the chaos of everyday life and the clarity of higher awareness. Imagine a stormy sea. Waves crash endlessly, tossing the ship. This is your mind when filled with fear, worry, and unguarded thought. Meditation is the anchor, the deep calm below the surface, where nothing shakes you, where clarity and insight emerge. Alan emphasizes that meditation is not escape. It is not withdrawal from life. Rather, it is the foundation for engaging with life more fully. When the mind is disciplined and still, we perceive reality clearly. We act with purpose rather than reaction. We see solutions where before there was confusion. He writes, "The man who cannot command his own mind will be mastered by circumstance. The man who learns to dwell in quiet meditation will master himself, and thereby master life." Let's imagine a man named Arjun. He faces constant stress at work, unresolved conflicts at home, and financial pressure. His mind races constantly. Anxiety becomes his companion. Life feels heavy, uncontrollable. But Arjun begins to meditate. Each morning he sits quietly, observing his thoughts without judgment, allowing them to rise and pass like clouds in a clear sky. Slowly, he discovers something miraculous. The turbulence was never permanent. Beneath the surface, a calm, unshakable awareness has always existed. Meditation cultivates this awareness. It allows the mind to rest in the present, free from the endless loops of regret, fear, and expectation. From this place of clarity, we begin to understand our thoughts, our habits, and the hidden patterns shaping our lives. Alan explains that meditation is like tuning an instrument. The mind, left untended, is out of harmony, reactive, distracted, chaotic. Meditation aligns it. It restores balance, focus, and inner calm. Only then can the energy of thought be directed toward constructive purposes. As the mountain rises above the storm, so does meditation lift the mind above confusion, Alan writes. Meditation also connects us with higher truths. In stillness, we become aware of the deeper laws of life, that thoughts are seeds, that every action has consequence, and that the soul thrives in harmony, love, and service. It cultivates insight, discernment, and wisdom, qualities that guide us far beyond superficial success. Imagine Mira again, from our earlier chapters. She mastered her thoughts, cultivated happiness, and aligned with prosperity. Meditation takes her journey further. In those quiet moments, she experiences inner clarity, an unshakable sense of calm, and a connection with something greater than herself. The outer world may remain unpredictable, but the inner world is serene. Alan reminds us that meditation is a practice and a discipline. It requires consistency, patience, and humility. The mind will wander. Old habits will surface. Doubts will appear. But each time we return to the quiet center, the anchor of awareness grows stronger. Over time, the outer world begins to reflect this inner stability. Opportunities appear, relationships deepen, and even challenges are met with calm, creative energy. He writes, "By meditation, a man comes into possession of himself. By meditation, he draws strength from the infinite and learns to act wisely in all circumstances." Meditation is the foundation of inner peace, spiritual power, and self-mastery. It is the gateway to the second half of Alan's teachings, the way of peace. Prosperity, happiness, and health are important, but without meditation, the mind remains vulnerable to stress, doubt, and imbalance. With it, the mind becomes a wellspring of clarity, resilience, and wisdom. So, if you long for true mastery over your life, start with meditation. Sit quietly. Observe your thoughts. Breathe. Allow stillness to arise. From this stillness, insight flows. Strength grows. Peace blossoms. Alan's message is clear: meditation is not a luxury. It is the essential practice for anyone seeking to transform their mind, master their life, and move from outer prosperity to inner peace. It is the silent power behind all enduring success and happiness. The mind, disciplined in quiet meditation, becomes a tool of infinite power, capable of creating, guiding, and sustaining the life one desires. Master your mind through meditation. Discover the calm beneath the chaos, and step into a life of clarity, purpose, and profound inner peace. Chapter 2: The Two Masters, Self and Truth. Within every human heart, two forces are at work, two masters vying for control. James Allen calls them self and truth. Self represents the lower mind, ego-driven desires, selfish impulses, and the fear that whispers, protect yourself, take first, act from want. Truth represents the higher consciousness, principles of love, integrity, patience, and clarity. Every choice we make aligns us with one master or the other, shaping the course of our life. Allen writes, within every man there are two masters, one of the lower nature, the other of the higher. One is selfishness, the other is truth. This is the battlefield of life, not outside in circumstances, but within. The man who follows self is restless, conflicted, and dependent on external validation. The man who follows truth is calm, resilient, and guided by inner wisdom. Imagine two travelers on a journey. One follows self, distracted by every temptation, swayed by fear, and burdened by desire. His path is chaotic, uncertain, and exhausting. The other follows truth, guided by clarity, virtue, and purpose. Though the terrain may be steep and challenges unavoidable, his path is steady, harmonious, and ultimately liberating. Allen emphasizes that the two masters are not always obvious. Self can disguise itself as ambition, cleverness, or even survival instinct. Truth may seem passive at first, requiring patience, sacrifice, and subtle insight. Yet the consequences of choosing one over the other are profound and irreversible. He writes, "He who obeys self suffers. He who obeys truth lives in harmony." Every action, thought, and habit builds allegiance. Are your decisions driven by immediate gratification or by principle? Are your words motivated by pride or compassion? Are your actions dictated by fear or courage? This constant inner choice determines the quality of your life. Let's imagine Arjuna again, our earlier traveler. For years, he followed self, reacting impulsively, seeking comfort, fearing criticism, and craving recognition. The outer world mirrored this inner chaos, stress, conflict, and missed opportunities. Only when he began to follow truth, cultivating honesty, patience, and love, did his circumstances transform. His mind became clear. His relationships deepened. His path unfolded with ease and purpose. Allen teaches that following truth requires courage and awareness. It is not always easy to act with integrity when shortcuts promise gain, when anger tempts retaliation, or when fear urges compromise. But every act of alignment with truth strengthens the higher master within. Every surrender to principle expands clarity, peace, and spiritual power. As we yield to the lower self, we fall. As we yield to the higher, we rise, Allen writes. Imagine the mind as a palace with two rooms. One room is dark, crowded, and filled with noise, the room of self. The other is bright, calm, and spacious, the room of truth. You can wander freely, but the longer you dwell in the room of truth, the more your life begins to take its character. Every thought, choice, and action builds the room you live in most. Allen emphasizes the importance of self-examination. To serve truth, we must first observe self. Every habit, impulse, and reaction is a clue. Are you acting out of fear, pride, or envy? Or from courage, humility, and love? Awareness itself is a bridge that allows you to step from reaction to conscious choice. He writes, "No man can serve two masters. He will serve the one to whom he gives his allegiance." The decision is constant, yet each moment offers renewal. Even if self has dominated for years, the moment we turn to truth, the higher master begins to guide us. The consequences ripple through thought, habit, and circumstance, gradually shaping a life of serenity, purpose, and true power. Imagine Mira from previous chapters. She mastered thought, embraced prosperity, and found happiness. But following truth transformed her life at a deeper level. She began to respond to challenges with calm clarity rather than anxiety. She chose love over resentment, patience over frustration. Each choice aligned her more fully with the higher master, and the world reflected this harmony. Alan also explains that the allegiance to truth is the foundation of spiritual power. The ability to act wisely, to remain calm amid turmoil, and to cultivate selfless love flows naturally when self no longer dominates. The mind becomes a precise instrument, focused and disciplined, capable of shaping circumstances in alignment with higher purpose. The choice between self and truth is not abstract. It is practical, immediate, and life-defining. Each decision, each response, each thought is a step toward freedom or bondage. To follow truth is to live intentionally, to rise above the petty fluctuations of ego and fear, and to act from a place of enduring clarity. He who obeys truth attains peace, joy, and power. He who obeys self remains restless, weak, and enslaved, Alan writes. Alan's message is timeless. Mastery begins within. Observe self. Recognize truth. Make the conscious choice daily in thought, word, and deed to follow the higher path. Every alignment with truth strengthens your inner foundation, transforms your mind, and radiates outward, shaping your life and your destiny. Within every man, the two masters wait. Choose wisely. Serve faithfully, and you will rise. Awareness. Choice. Alignment. Serve truth, and you step into the life you were meant to live, a life of freedom, peace, and enduring power. Chapter 3. The Acquirement of Spiritual Power. Power. Many seek it outwardly through wealth, influence, or recognition. Yet James Allen reminds us that the truest, most enduring power is spiritual. It cannot be taken, borrowed, or inherited. It is acquired through mastery over the self, cultivated quietly, patiently, and deliberately. Allen writes, "Spiritual power is not obtained through outward circumstances or force. It is the result of inward growth, of the mastery of thought, feeling, and purpose. This is a power that cannot be shaken by loss, criticism, or circumstance. It arises from a mind disciplined, a heart purified, and a will aligned with truth." Imagine a man named Arjun, standing amidst chaos, financial setbacks, demanding colleagues, and personal challenges. Outwardly, he may appear powerless. But within, a transformation begins. He learns to master his thoughts, controlling anger, quieting fear, and choosing patience over impulse. He aligns his desires with higher principles, honesty, kindness, and integrity. Slowly, a quiet strength emerges, subtle, steady, unassailable. Allen emphasizes that spiritual power begins with self-mastery. Control your thoughts, and you control your actions. Control your actions, and you influence your circumstances. Control your emotions, and you influence your destiny. He writes, "Only the pure in heart, the calm in mind, and the steadfast in purpose can truly acquire power." Notice the pattern: purity of heart, clarity of mind, steadfast purpose. These are the pillars of spiritual strength. Without them, power becomes fleeting, reactive, and ultimately destructive. With them, power becomes a natural extension of your character, flowing effortlessly into every decision and every action. Let's explore this through the story of Meera, from earlier chapters. She has cultivated happiness, mastered her thoughts, and aligned her life with abundance. But she now learns that her true influence grows not from what she controls outside, but from the stability she maintains within. She is calm when others panic, decisive when others waver, compassionate when others lash out. This spiritual power is subtle, silent, yet undeniably real. Allen explains that spiritual power is not about asserting dominance over others. It is about asserting mastery over oneself. A man who can govern his own mind, speech, and behavior possesses more strength than armies. Fear, desire, and anger are the chains that bind most people. Break them within, and the outer world responds in kind. When a man has gained control over himself, he has gained control over circumstances. For the outer world is but a reflection of the inner state, Allen writes. Consider the discipline required. It is not an instant achievement. The mind rebels, old habits resurface, and temptations test the will. Yet each act of self-control strengthens the inner core. Every choice aligned with virtue, every thought governed by clarity, every emotion tempered by wisdom all accumulate into a reservoir of spiritual power that no external circumstance can diminish. Alan also reminds us that spiritual power is rooted in love and compassion. True strength does not dominate or coerce. It uplifts. It inspires. It serves. The person who acquires spiritual power naturally radiates calm confidence, patience, and courage. People are drawn to them, opportunities align, and life unfolds with remarkable coherence. He writes, "Power is the reward of self-mastery. The unconquered mind is the throne of spiritual dominion." Imagine Arjuna again. By mastering fear, doubt, and impulsive reactions, he becomes the calm center in every storm. His colleagues seek his counsel. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable now appear as opportunities. Life begins to move in rhythm with his inner strength. This is the profound truth Alan conveys. Mastery of self is mastery overall. Alan emphasizes that this power is accessible to everyone. It does not depend on birth, wealth, or social status. It depends solely on the choices we make in thought, in word, and in action. Discipline, focus, and alignment with truth are the tools. Patience, persistence, and courage are the practice. The man who controls himself masters the world, Alan writes. Spiritual power is silent, subtle, and steady. It grows in the quiet moments of self-reflection, in the choices made when no one is watching, in the small victories over anger, fear, and distraction. It is not flashy. It does not demand recognition. Yet its presence is undeniable in calm clarity, in resilient joy, and in the ability to act rightly under any circumstance. By acquiring spiritual power, we gain freedom from the tyranny of our own mind, freedom from external chaos, and freedom to live with purpose, love, and unwavering integrity. Master your mind. Align your heart. Steady your purpose. And the power that shapes your life from within will transform everything outside. This is the essence of spiritual power, the force that elevates ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Chapter 4. The Realization of Selfless Love. Among the greatest mysteries of life is the power of love. Not the fleeting conditional kind that seeks reward or recognition, but selfless love pure, unwavering, and free of expectation. James Allen writes that this form of love is the highest vibration of the human heart, the ultimate expression of spiritual mastery, and the key to true fulfillment. Selfish love is temporary and weak. Selfless love is eternal and powerful, Allen reminds us. Selfless love begins inwardly. It is not something to give in hopes of receiving, nor something that is offered only when convenient. It is a state of being a reflection of inner purity, harmony, and alignment with truth. The more we cultivate it within ourselves, the more it radiates outward, transforming our relationships, our choices, and even the world around us. Imagine Arjuna, who has mastered thought, cultivated spiritual power, and risen above fear and desire. Yet he senses a deeper calling. He begins to notice the subtle selfishness in his actions, a need for praise, a desire for influence, even unconscious judgment of others. He realizes that true mastery is incomplete without love that serves, uplifts, and forgives without expectation. Allen explains, "The man who loves selflessly is not swayed by insult, disappointment, or loss. He gives without thought of return, and in that giving, he is enriched beyond measure." Selfless love dissolves negative emotions, envy, anger, resentment, pride. When we truly love without conditions, there is no room for fear or selfish desire. The heart becomes a wellspring of compassion, patience, and understanding. And the remarkable truth Allen highlights is that the world responds to this love in kind. Life begins to mirror the purity of the heart. Let's picture Mira again, our earlier traveler. She has aligned her mind, cultivated inner peace, and discovered spiritual strength. But it is when she practices selfless love that her life transforms most profoundly. She helps without expectation, listens without judgment, forgives without resentment, and gives without seeking reward. Slowly, her relationships deepen, conflicts dissolve, and her influence grows effortlessly. People are drawn to her calm, compassionate presence. This is the magnetic power of selfless love. Alan emphasizes that selfless love is not weak. It is the strongest force in the universe. It transforms the giver as much as the receiver. In fact, Alan writes, love, when selfless, is the highest spiritual power. It can conquer anger, dissolve hatred, and create harmony where there was chaos. Consider the mind as a garden. Thoughts are seeds, actions are the water, and love is the sunlight. Selfishness and fear cast shadows, limiting growth. Selfless love nourishes every seed, allowing courage, patience, and wisdom to flourish. The heart becomes fertile ground for all virtues, and life blossoms in ways unimaginable. Alan reminds us that the cultivation of selfless love is a daily practice. It is present in small acts, a kind word, a patient response, a moment of forgiveness. Over time, these acts accumulate into a profound inner transformation. The man or woman who practices selfless love radiates power, not through force, but through serenity, influence, and moral authority. Selfless love is also freedom. When we stop seeking reward, recognition, or validation, we are liberated from the chains of ego. We are free to act according to truth, to respond to life with clarity, and to contribute meaningfully to the world. The higher master truth is fully realized when love is selfless. Alan writes, as a man purifies his heart and loves without selfishness, he draws all life toward him in harmony. He becomes a center of power, peace, and joy. Imagine a world where every person embraced this principle, choosing love over fear, compassion over judgment, giving without expectation. The outer world would naturally reflect harmony, prosperity, and peace. Alan's vision is simple yet profound. The transformation of the world begins with the transformation of the heart. Selfless love is the bridge between inner mastery and outer harmony. It elevates spiritual power from discipline and clarity into a force that shapes reality with grace. When you practice it, life responds with cooperation, abundance, and connection. And perhaps most importantly, it transforms the giver, making the heart stronger, the mind clearer, and the soul radiant. Alan teaches us that the highest human achievement is not wealth, fame, or influence. It is the realization of selfless love, the conscious choice to live for something greater than oneself, to serve without expectation, and to love unconditionally. When the heart loves selflessly, it mirrors the divine. It dissolves fear, anger, and suffering. It nurtures joy, peace, and abundance. And in that love, spiritual power is perfected, quiet, radiant, unstoppable. Let love be the law of your life, Alan writes, and you will possess the highest power the soul can know. The realization of selfless love is not a distant ideal. It is available to you now in this moment, through every thought, word, and action. Love first within, and the world will follow. Chapter 5. Entering into the Infinite. Have you ever experienced a moment when time seems to dissolve, when your worries fade, your fears vanish, and you feel a deep connection to something vast, eternal, and alive? That, James Allen tells us, is the soul entering the infinite. To enter the infinite is to leave behind the narrow self, Allen writes. It is a state of consciousness where the ego, the limited I that clings to fear, doubt, and desire, dissolves. What remains is unity, awareness, and profound peace. In this state, the soul recognizes itself as part of the vast, eternal universe. It is no longer isolated, no longer defined by circumstance, and no longer chained to fleeting desires. Imagine standing on a mountaintop at sunrise. The clouds stretch endlessly below, rivers glint in the morning light, and the horizon seems infinite. In that moment, your sense of smallness disappears. You are part of everything: the wind, the earth, the sky. This is a glimpse of what Allen calls entering the infinite. He explains that the human mind often mistakes the material world for the entirety of existence. We cling to possessions, accolades, and recognition, believing these define us. But the infinite exists beyond all of that. It is the source of all life, all wisdom, and all power. To touch it is to awaken the soul to its true nature. Allen writes, "The man who knows the infinite no longer fears loss, change, or death. He stands unshaken amidst the storms of life, for he has touched the eternal." The path to the infinite begins with stillness. Meditation, reflection, and self-mastery prepare the mind to perceive reality beyond illusion. The soul learns to look inward, to recognize that all outer struggles are fleeting, and that true power and peace are found in alignment with the eternal. Let's revisit Mira. She has cultivated selfless love, mastered her thoughts, and embraced spiritual power. But now she sits quietly, letting go of attachment to outcomes, judgments, and fear. She observes the rhythms of life as they are, without interference. And in that quiet surrender, she touches the infinite, a state where clarity, joy, and serenity are immediate, effortless, and absolute. Alan emphasizes that entering the infinite is not a reward for the privileged. It is available to all who cultivate purity of thought, selfless love, and unwavering discipline. The infinite is not out there in some distant realm. It is always present, ready to be recognized within. The infinite is within the grasp of every soul, Alan writes. It is the natural state of the spirit when freed from the limitations of selfish desire and narrow thinking. In this state, the boundaries between self and other dissolve. Compassion becomes effortless. Wisdom flows naturally. Fear, anger, and doubt cannot survive the clarity of the infinite. It is a state of total harmony with oneself, with others, and with the universe. Consider the implications. When we live connected to the infinite, we act with perfect alignment. Every thought, word, and deed flows from a source beyond ego. Decisions are guided by clarity, obstacles are met with calm resilience, and life unfolds in graceful, meaningful patterns. We are no longer reacting to circumstances. We are flowing with the eternal rhythm of existence. Alan reminds us that this connection is not a static state. It is dynamic, alive, and evolving. The infinite is not a place to escape life, but a lens through which life becomes fully illuminated. Pain and joy, gain and loss, success and failure all are seen in a higher context, as part of the greater harmony of existence. To enter the infinite is to awaken to your true nature, to realize that you are not limited by the fears, doubts, or struggles of daily life. You are part of the eternal, creative, and harmonious flow of the universe. And in that realization, all true freedom, peace, and power arise. Alan writes, "He who has entered the infinite no longer seeks happiness, for he has become happiness. He no longer seeks love, for he is love itself. He no longer seeks power, for he has touched the eternal source of all power." Friends, the infinite is not a distant dream. It is a living reality accessible in this moment, through discipline, love, meditation, and surrender. Every act of selflessness, every quiet moment of reflection, every choice to master the mind and heart brings you closer to this eternal state. In entering the infinite, we discover the truth Alan so powerfully shares. Life's highest purpose is not to accumulate wealth or recognition. It is to awaken, to rise above the limitations of the self, to harmonize with the eternal, and to live in unity with all that is. The infinite is within you. It is always present, waiting to be recognized. And when you touch it, everything changes: your thoughts, your heart, your life, and the world around you. Chapter 6: Saints, Sages, and Saviors, the Law of Service. Throughout history, humanity has looked to extraordinary individuals, the saints, the sages, the saviors, for inspiration. From Buddha to Jesus, Gandhi to countless others, there is a common thread that defines their greatness: service. James Allen writes, "The law of service is the law of life itself. To serve others is to serve the universe, to awaken the soul, and to realize the divine within." Service is not just an act. It is a conscious alignment of one's heart, mind, and actions with the highest principles of love, compassion, and wisdom. It is the bridge between inner spiritual attainment and outer manifestation, the way our mastery of thought and self translates into real-world impact. Imagine Mira again, who has mastered thought, cultivated selfless love, and entered the infinite. Her journey of inner awakening is profound, but James Allen reminds us that spirituality cannot exist in isolation. True spiritual power expresses itself in service. It manifests through acts that uplift others, alleviate suffering, and contribute to the well-being of the world. Allen writes, "No man can rise above the level of his thoughts and feelings without expressing them in action. To think only is to remain incomplete. To act in harmony with thought is to realize divine law." Service, then, is the practical form of wisdom. It is where contemplation meets action. When we serve, we act as channels of the infinite, letting our love, clarity, and power flow outward. And the beauty is that the benefits of service are twofold. The recipient is uplifted, and the giver grows in spiritual strength. Think of Gandhi, who spent decades serving his people without expectation of reward. Or Mother Teresa, who devoted her life to the sick and the poor. Their power was not in dominance, wealth, or fame, but in consistent selfless acts that mirrored their inner purity. In every action, they expressed the law of service, the principle that what we give freely returns multiplied, enriching the soul and the world alike. Alan reminds us that service is not limited to grand gestures. Every small act counts. A kind word to the stranger who struggles. A patient ear for someone in distress. Sharing knowledge or guidance without expectation. Each act aligns the giver with higher truth and resonates outward, touching lives in ways that are often unseen but infinitely powerful. Alan writes, "As a man serves, he elevates himself. As he elevates himself, he is able to serve more perfectly." Service is the law of divine exchange. What is given freely returns manifold. This is the essence of spiritual economy. The universe is abundant, not because it distributes wealth unequally, but because it responds to the vibrations of thought, love, and action. When you serve sincerely, without attachment to reward, you tap into this universal flow. Opportunities, resources, and wisdom naturally follow, as if life conspires to support your alignment with truth. Let's imagine Arjuna again. He has cultivated thought mastery, selfless love, and touched the infinite, yet his life felt incomplete. Inspired by Alan, he begins serving his community, helping those in need, mentoring younger peers, and acting with integrity and compassion. At first, the changes seem subtle. A grateful smile, a heartfelt thanks. But over time, Arjuna notices transformation. Relationships deepen, opportunities appear, and a sense of fulfillment he never experienced before blooms within him. This is the law of service in motion, giving without expectation, receiving in abundance. Alan teaches that service is the practical antidote to ego. It shifts focus from the self to the greater whole. Every act of genuine service dissolves pride, fear, and selfish desire, replacing them with humility, courage, and spiritual strength. The more we serve, the more we expand our capacity for love and understanding, and the closer we move to true spiritual perfection. He writes, "The saints and sages attained greatness not by thought alone, but by the ceaseless, selfless expression of love and service." The measure of spiritual attainment is not in knowledge gained, but in lives touched. This is the practical lesson for every seeker. Meditation, thought mastery, and selfless love prepare the heart and mind. Service expresses that preparation in action. And when action aligns with the highest principles, we become living embodiments of wisdom and power. Friends, the law of service is simple, yet profound. To serve is to align with the universe, to express inner truth, and to elevate both self and others. Every thought, word, and deed done in love, compassion, and humility becomes a ripple in the vast ocean of life, and that ripple returns to nourish the soul. James Allen reminds us that the ultimate purpose of life is not accumulation, recognition, or comfort. It is to serve, to give, and to love without expectation. In this way, the saints, sages, and saviors of history illuminate a path that is timeless. True power is realized in selfless service. As you walk your own path, remember, your thoughts shape your world, your love transforms it, and your service manifests it. To serve is to live in harmony with the eternal, to touch the infinite in action, and to awaken the highest power within. Chapter 7. The Realization of Perfect Peace. After walking the path of prosperity, mastering thought, cultivating selfless love, and serving others, the journey of the soul leads naturally to one final destination: perfect peace. James Allen writes, "Peace is the crown of life. It is the reward of self-conquest and the natural outcome of perfect harmony between the inner and outer man." Perfect peace is not the absence of challenges, nor the avoidance of sorrow. It is the quiet, unshakable stillness that arises when the mind is disciplined, the heart is pure, and the soul aligns with truth. Imagine a lake at dawn. Its waters are still, reflecting the sky in perfect clarity. Storms may rage in the distance, yet the lake remains unmoved. That lake is your mind when it has reached perfect peace. The ripples of anger, fear, and desire have settled. What remains is clarity, serenity, and a profound sense of connection to the universe. Alan emphasizes that peace is not something to be pursued externally. It is cultivated within a state of consciousness born of self-mastery. All the principles he has laid out in the book converge here. Master your thoughts, and you master your destiny. Cultivate selfless love, and you dissolve inner conflict. Serve others, and you align with the law of the universe. When all of these threads are woven together, peace naturally arises. Think of Mira, who we've walked with along this journey. She has learned to calm her mind, to act with love, to serve without expectation. One evening, as she sits quietly in meditation, she experiences a stillness that is unlike any feeling before. There is no longing, no fear, no doubt, only presence, only being. Alan writes, "The peaceful mind is ever in harmony with the laws of life. It fears nothing, desires nothing, and yet possesses all things." Perfect peace, he explains, is freedom from attachment and the illusions of the self. It is not a passive resignation, but an active mastery of the inner life. The mind is a ruler of its own realm, unshaken by the chaos of external circumstances. He draws a powerful distinction. Many seek peace in comfort, wealth, or external success. But these are fleeting. True peace is internal. It is the fruit of consistent self-discipline, reflection, and alignment with higher principles. Even in the face of loss, disappointment, or adversity, the soul that has realized peace remains untroubled. Alan writes, "When the mind is pure, the heart unselfish, and life directed toward harmony, peace is inevitable." This is the ultimate message of From Poverty to Power. The outer world is a reflection of the inner state. When you conquer your thoughts, embody love, and express it through service, the world no longer disturbs you. You rise above conflict, frustration, and fear. Peace is no longer a goal. It becomes your natural state. Let's picture Arjun, the man who transformed his life through thought mastery, selfless love, and service. One morning, sitting quietly after years of inner work, he realizes something profound. The anxieties that once dominated his mind, financial fears, social comparisons, old resentments no longer hold power over him. They are clouds passing across a limitless sky of calm awareness. That is the realization of perfect peace. Alan explains that this peace is not inert or detached from life. On the contrary, it is deeply engaged, the kind of peace that radiates outward, influencing others, improving relationships, and transforming communities. The peaceful mind does not withdraw from the world. It participates fully, yet remains untouched by turmoil. He writes, "A mind that is calm, a heart that is unselfish, a life that is guided by truth, these are the sources of true power and peace." External conditions may change, but the soul abides in serenity. Perfect peace, then, is the culmination of the journey from poverty to power. It is not measured by wealth, status, or recognition. It is measured by the purity of thought, the depth of love, and the consistency of service. In this state, the soul is aligned with the eternal laws of life, and happiness, prosperity, and fulfillment flow naturally. Friends, the realization of perfect peace is both simple and profound. It is available to anyone willing to do the inner work, to master thought, to cultivate selfless love, to serve sincerely, and to align with truth. When these principles are lived consistently, peace is not a distant dream, it is your birthright. As James Allen beautifully concludes this section, peace is the crown of life, the reward of self-conquest, and the natural outcome of perfect harmony between the inner and outer man. And so, the journey is complete. From poverty to power, from struggle to prosperity, from restlessness to inner peace, James Allen shows us that life's true riches are born within. Master your mind, live in love, serve selflessly, and the world will follow. This is the timeless path to true freedom, fulfillment, and the perfect peace that lies at the heart of every human being. Conclusion: From Poverty to Power, Full Circle Reflection. Friends, we've walked a long journey together today. From the struggles of poverty and adversity, through the mastery of thought, selfless love, and service, to the serene heights of perfect peace. James Allen's From Poverty to Power has illuminated a simple yet profound truth. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world. Every chapter, every lesson has pointed to one central idea. Your life is shaped not by circumstance, luck, or the actions of others, but by your own mind. In Book 1, The Path of Prosperity, we learned that suffering and evil are not enemies, but teachers. Those thoughts are forces, invisible yet powerful, shaping every moment of our lives. That abundance, happiness, and success flow naturally when the mind is disciplined, focused, and aligned with truth. You saw how the careful cultivation of thought can transform poverty into power, struggle into opportunity, and doubt into unshakable confidence. In Book 2, The Way of Peace, we discovered that true mastery is not just outward success, but inward harmony. Meditation connects us to the higher self, guiding us through the storms of life. Choosing truth over ego brings freedom from fear and limitation. Selfless love and service become the practical expressions of spiritual power. And in perfect peace, we realize that life's greatest treasures are not wealth or recognition. They are serenity, clarity, and alignment with eternal principles. James Allen's message is timeless because it is universal. Every human being faces challenges, inner conflicts, and uncertainty. But within each of us lies the power to choose our thoughts, cultivate our hearts, and direct our lives toward mastery and peace. Think of your mind as a garden. The seeds you plant, anger, fear, resentment, will grow into thorns that entangle and hinder you. But the seeds of love, gratitude, patience, and courage will bloom into a life of abundance, joy, and harmony. The outer world will reflect the beauty of your inner garden. As Allen reminds us, a man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. This is the ultimate call to action, to watch your thoughts, guide your intentions, cultivate virtue, and serve others with love. Do this, and you will not only transform your circumstances, you will transform your very self. Imagine the possibilities. A life where challenges are seen as lessons, not curses. A heart free from resentment, filled with compassion. A mind that remains calm amid chaos, guided by wisdom. And a soul that radiates peace, attracting abundance, joy, and fulfillment effortlessly. Friends, From Poverty to Power is more than a book. It is a roadmap, a guide to living with intention, mastering your inner world, and realizing the boundless potential within you. The journey from struggle to success, from restlessness to peace, begins with one choice, the choice to master your mind. So today, take this wisdom with you. Observe your thoughts. Act with purpose. Love selflessly. Serve others. And seek the peace that comes from self-mastery. Because when you do, you awaken the power within, the power to rise, the power to transform, and the power to live a life of profound fulfillment. This is the path James Allen invites you to walk. From poverty to power, from chaos to peace, from limitation to boundless possibility. Your journey begins now with a mind you choose to cultivate today.